attention. We're back.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Fire the Cannon. I'm Rocky.
And I'm Megan, and we are Fire the Cannon.
Let's give some extra booms today, Megan.
Hey, anytime we cross back over as a winner from that old Red River.
with the golden hat.
I love it.
With the golden hat. I have a clip in my hair, so it's not going to be on right. Yeah, this fits real nice again this year, Megan.
It does, man. We got to be careful, y'all. We're getting a little comfortable in those golden hats.
I mean, if the hat fits, wear it.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, it turns out this weekend that Texas was all hat and all cattle.
Yes.
Absolutely dominated. Rocky, I'm going to say this just from the start. It felt to me in this game that Texas was more dominant than the final score showed. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about it. Of course, We're going to recap all things Red River right now. We're going to hand out some flowers who did great. Maybe some unsung heroes there. We're also going to talk best memories. So we'd love to hear everything. Bring your favorite memories, bring your favorite pictures from the weekend. We want to see it. We want to hear it all. Again, we'll recap and we'll talk. Look, is this a thing that is sustainable for Texas, or was this just a case of OU being overrated? Texas, we're in the SEC, right? And everything's a grind. So we got to talk about it.
Yes. So Megan, you're right. There's so much. Is it sustainable? That's huge. We got to talk about that. This team came in number 1 in the country, stumbled, found their way. There was a gut check, and we're going to talk about what we thought were going to be the keys to a victory for Texas, how it played out. And Megan, I went on a kind of little rabbit hole on Sunday afternoon while I was half watching my Titans stink and half watching. So I got into playing on YouTube some of the OU media and trying to I never listened to their media, but I was like, what are they saying? Oh man, Megan, I have to tell you a little about the state of Oklahoma right now. So we'll talk about that too. And then of course, another crazy weekend of college football, but you were at the game. So other than the game, how was your weekend, Megan?
It was good. It was a quick trip up and back, as it always is. Really grateful to the Maddox family for hosting. They're local up in Dallas, and they always host a great tailgate that we go to. It's always a good time there. So yeah, it was awesome, man. It was awesome. I love how you're like, well, other than the OU weekend.
I know, Rocky, that was the whole weekend.
Was there anything other than the OU weekend? So I brought the dogs up. I usually don't take them up to Dallas, but brought them up this time. So quick trip, but it was a good time. And let me say this before we get into it, before we talk about the plays, before we talk about the game itself, I want to give a shout out to Texas fans. I really do. Because I'll tell you, Rocky, I was a little bit worried before we went into this game. I had no fewer than 15 people ask me to help sell their tickets. So it kind of felt like coming off that Florida game where things didn't go very well. It felt like the mood was low, the expectations were low from Texas fans, and given that I had so many people asking me to help them move their tickets, I felt I was worried. I'm not gonna lie, I was worried. Those ticket prices were dropping right before the game, so I was worried that Texas side was going to be a little bit empty. But I will say this, from the start, from the second we got into that stadium, the Texas side filled up before the OU side did. And they were loud and proud. I'm so proud of our fans for the way that they showed up and showed out. They were there loud from the start. And people might say it's bullshit. People might say it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, it affected this game. I really think it did.
Sark said it did.
Yeah, and look, we talked about this last week on our show. Texas has kind of come out flat in some of their games, and that was one of the things we wanted to see this game. Can Texas find that energy? Can they keep up that sideline energy? And if you can't get up for OU, who are you going to get up for, right? And that was never a concern, both from the fans and from the players. I mean, it was just electric from the start. It really was. So I shout out to the Texas fans. Like, it was loud, it was crazy, it was unified. Man, it was a thing of beauty. It was awesome.
Good.
It was,
A
yeah.
unified Texas, right, is a reckoning. So CDC says. All right. So for like on my side, big thing right now. I don't know if anyone noticed. I have a new background because I moved to a different room in the house and closer to the really like the main Wi-Fi because I was a little bit too far. So I moved and I set this up, and this is the new like 2025 schedule. We have volleyball and football and beach volleyball from this year, baseball from earlier. Anyway, so soccer, the new 25 soccer schedule. So I've been collecting all these big posters, when you go to all these things, you get all the big posters. And so now I've set up the new space and I'm really excited. And also I had to set up better space because I start teaching tomorrow at Texas State.
Love it. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. And I have a full class, Megan, 30 full class. That's going to be fun.
Wild.
We'll just say the reason we went ahead and went live a little earlier today on a Monday night, like we've been trying to do some Monday, we're just ready to talk Texas and this big win, and it's exciting. So let's start, Megan, dive right in. One of the things we wanted to show, we have so much good fun photos and media, and you had a great post on the Fire the Cannon board today, encouraging people to share their posts. So we'll share some of the posts we got. But let's start with the celebration. It's always fun to celebrate the big win. So this was immediately on the field. This was the celebration. Travis Retchick posted this. I think it's they're having a good time. I love that when people compile all the action happening down on the field. Megan, did you know? I'm gonna show you.
Yep, it's a good day to be a Longhorn, I tell you what.
It sure is.
They put the hat on him.
Yeah, absolutely. The golden hat's everything. I was listening to Third and Longhorn as their recap, and I think it was Fozzie on there that said this. He was like, "Let me tell you, that golden hat hurts." He's like, "You don't realize how small it is.
It's heavy AF, right? It's like, I don't know. It's not steel, whatever it's made of. It's like hard, heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's significant, but it was all smiles. And look, this really felt like a game where, I love the celebration. Of course, it's something special to be able to celebrate with fans, and half that stadium's empty and half of it's just rocking. But this really felt like a breath of fresh air for Texas, right? Like, Arch Manning has had the weight of the world on his shoulders, fairly or unfairly. It's been a lot. And that's led him to playing some hero ball sometimes. That's put him maybe not in the best situation every time. But this game really felt like the team effort. Like, this to me felt like the first time this season and this team played like a team. Like, we know they love each other. We know they care for each other. We know they fight for each other. But it was just clicking in this game. It really felt like the first time that this team had become a reckoning. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a perfect game. It wasn't a perfect game.
No, not by any means.
Yeah, there were still moments.
We'll get into it. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, Texas didn't capitalize every opportunity that they had. There were still some misfires, some miscues. But as a whole, like, it did not affect this team's mentality. Like, they just knew they were coming out and dominating from the start. It was impressive. I want to ask you, Rocky, like, what did it look like on TV? Like, what were you seeing?
Very much an engaged crowd. It was loud the whole time. No matter who was on the field, it was very loud. It felt hard hitting. It felt intense. It felt like every point, every inch on the field was going to be very valuable. But it also felt like Texas was really unified, and it looked like they were having a lot of fun flying around. And once they got their feet under them, it started to look really good. We'll dive into that when we get to it. But Megan, let's start with like the big rivalry game, right? This big rivalry. I know you wanted to say what was your favorite Texas-OU memory. I'll let you go first.
I will say this one ranks up there. It ranks up there pretty high for me. But I think 2015 was one of my favorites because I felt like we were just down in the dumps. Texas was just not a very good football team at that point. OU had been rolling. They were ranked. They looked good. I don't think anybody gave Texas that chance. And, that Charlie Strong, where he came out with the golden hat and points and his finger looks like a million miles
Oh,
long
yeah.
because of the perspective. Walking out of that game, that was just like a holy crap. Did that just happen? That was up there. And another one of my specific favorite memories is the Stoney stop. Stoney Clark staying home, preserving that game. That was another one where I just feel like Stoney Clark doesn't always get his flowers, but he will go down in that Red River history, just in lore, right? So, yeah, exactly. CB, that's exactly it. Thanks for the comment. Remember 2015 Red River shootout. Texas was coming off of a 50-7 loss versus TCU. It was bad. Really, like, vibes were at an all-time low. I think, the people in the stands were there just out of loyalty, but I don't think anybody expected anything. And man, 2015, Texas came out and dominated. So I will say this, Rocky, like this one ranks up there. Texas needed this win. And I feel like it wasn't quite the same level because I still think there was more of a expectation for this Texas team. I feel like people were recognizing that this Texas team this year was more talented than we felt that the team in 2015, was, right? The facts were showing. It was towards the end, right? We knew that Charlie was probably on his way out. So yeah, it was a different kind of vibe, but whew, this does rank right up there. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it's a good win because of the background story of, Texas really needing to come together, Texas going and getting the gut check, all of those things. But to me, it's not one of my top wins ever for any reason, because they had, as much as they wanted to say, and we'll talk about this, as much as they wanted to say, Mateer's back, Texas gonna die, it still was a quarterback not at 100%. Texas had him in a spin cycle, and mentally, even if whether or not he was fully ready physically, Texas had him in a spin cycle mentally. So I just didn't feel like, it felt like, especially in the summer when Texas was 11, 12, 13-point favorite at one point, it felt like going in, the team that we started with and the team that they started with, of course, preseason expectations are, worth nothing, but Texas should have come in and dominated this game by double digits before the season started. Texas got derailed a little bit. OU started a lot hotter than people thought they would start. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, Texas beat them by double digits. So it's a great win. More that the backstory of this team really having to come in together, the pressure on Arch, the pressure on this offensive line who got manhandled in Florida the week before, those kind of things. And a defense that has been elite, not giving up a touchdown and doing all these elite things, coming off a shutout, all those things, and then just getting lit up by freshmen at Florida. Like, they had a gut check too. That is what makes it great for this team. But as far as it being like one of my favorite Red rivalries ever, no, I'm just glad we won.
No, I like it.
Great win. Yes,
I appreciate that. Hey, Nate's Takes, you said that the Bijan run was your favorite Red River memory. Yeah, it's hard to beat that. CB, you said 1994 Red River shootout with James Brown. Hell yeah, man.
I worked with James Brown.
He was awesome.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
Yeah, he is great. He went to play ball in Europe. All right. So let's look at some of our favorite pictures from this game, Megan. We had a bunch of favorite pictures that we wanted to share. Let me open this right here. So we'll start with, my mail opened. All right, let's start with, this is the one that has blown up and everyone's loving it. The Cade Phillips stand over Mateer.
Yeah, I love it. And what a great moment for Cade Phillips too. Like, he had some great plays there. We'll talk about it too. We'll jump into who we wanted to give some flowers. Did you have a favorite, Rocky, from this? Yeah.
Favorite of the pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one of Malik Muhammad's two touchdowns. I mean interceptions. Here is a good one of Demo with the hat. Look at that! Look at that stank face. Oh, I love it. Trevor Gooseby posted this one of himself with the hat in the locker room. Okay, the funny thing is, he's probably like, "Why am I in this shitty ass locker room? This locker room looks like a shelter." This is what a shithole this stadium is. Yeah, I'm like, they don't have no lit up air conditioning.
They don't need to. It's not anybody's
No.
home. It's fine.
I know, but I'm like, this is poverty, this stadium. This was good. DeMarvion Overshone showing, CD Lamb and Perry and Winfrey, the OU centers, right? He's like, tell them to answer the phone.
I love it.
I love it.
It's been pretty crazy. Again, I think, a lot of Sooners were high on this with Mateer coming back. We saw the money line change. Now this was interesting to me because we know that Texas opened up as the 2.5 point favorite. That dropped to 1.5. Then it flipped.
OU was a favorite for a minute.
Yeah. And then right before kickoff, it flipped back to Texas. So nobody could really make up their mind or get a good handle on what this game was going to be.
That Mateer injury going up and down. Is he going to play? Is he healthy? Did he practice? Did he not practice? Is Texas defense?
We all knew he was going to play. Look.
But I'm saying that we knew, but casual bettors, around the country are, they're still.
If you're not familiar,
whatever Chipotle, someone said it Chipotle.
Yeah, right. So love it, Livingston. Yeah, this is okay. Josh, I appreciate the comment. Mateer. Oh, he's got his tier coming down.
Mateer and mid tier.
Yeah, we decided meatball mid-tier was a pretty good nickname.
I will tell you why in a little bit. It's a funny video we're gonna play for you. Can I tell you, Megan? Texas Longhorn stays winning social media. Did you see? You saw this post?
They're one reporting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, this on Instagram, Texas Longhorns was reporting the OU football account. Who is this account pretending to be? And the answer was a good football team. Look, man, they took a page out of Texas volleyball social media's book right there because that was cold as hell. I love it.
That was awesome. One last picture of Taft, my boy Taft, putting that shoulder into mid tier.
Yeah. CB, they put it on Twitter, but it was actually the report on Instagram. They screenshotted from Instagram and put it on Twitter. They put it on all their social media platforms. Anyway, all right, Rocky, let's jump into this. Overall team performance. We had a few things that we talked about that we said, keys to the game. Texas has to do these things, has to execute here. So let's go ahead and look through it. Let's talk about it a little bit. Number one on that list was physicality. You were real adamant about that. And that's something that we felt this Texas team had been lacking a little bit. We know the power's there. We know the strength is there. We know the talent's there. But that physicality of just like going up and knowing that you're going to hit an MFer in the face, right? And you're going to win no matter what. You're going to go up for those 50-50 balls. You're out there looking for somebody to hit when you're on offense, right? Like that, we've kind of been missing that from this team. So physicality, what do you think, Rocky? Did Texas answer that call?
Absolutely. They like we mentioned a minute ago, they had the receivers early. The OU receivers were trying to be a little gutsy. That stopped quick. They were getting hit. They were getting finished. There were a couple where they were wide open early, but they hit Mateer early and often. They hit those receivers. They stopped the run. And then we have to give love to the O-line because this was the kind of push the O-line was getting. You can see them
just dominating that line.
Yeah. Wisner just had to, by the time the O-line pushed forward, all Wisner had to do was fall forward and get the first down on that play because the O-line had made so much space.
Yeah. And look, that's something that we talked about too, right? We said, you've got to win in the trenches. That was one thing that it's been a thing that Texas hadn't been doing. And we saw that certainly in the Florida game, both sides. We were surprised on the defensive side with the D-line getting pushed around at Florida. And, the O-line has had some struggles this year, but I'll tell you what, they stood up when it mattered and they played with some pride and they really were pushing them around. And I love what you said earlier about that physicality, Rocky. Like you're right. We had Mateer. So I'm just going to say this outright. Mateer didn't look unhealthy. I mean, he had one or two balls that weren't thrown well, but it looked more mental to me. Texas had him on his butt. He was running. He was
He's not
seeing
played a
ghosts.
defense like Texas is yet.
No, and he was seeing ghosts, and he was worried about getting hit. And there were some really nice throws that he had, those tight spirals, but those became fewer and farther between as the game went on, and as that jersey got dirtier and dirtier. And I think it was the same way with the receivers, exactly like you said. I mean, Texas, OU had a few shots, and they took a few shots, and they made a few good plays, but there was never a play that OU offense didn't get hit. Now, they might have caught the ball, but Texas defenders came and whooped him, just put a hard hit on him. And you could see that. I mean, I think it started to become that, like, that pull of, oh God, here we go. Right. And that changed the game. That intensity changed the game. We know that it was a slow first half. We know that that's been one of the criticisms for Texas teams under Sark, is that slow start in the first half. But it was physical the whole game, and Texas never gave up. They kept pushing, they kept hitting, and they knew eventually that was going to take its toll, and it sure did. It was really impressive.
Let's talk about it was physical before the game even started. Look at this brawl before the game even started. Had to be separated. You see some coaches, some refs in there, and you just see Sark standing there like, let's go. Like, he was just chill, like, all right, let's go.
See, but I like that. I like that.
Yes.
In a moment, in a year where there's been some questions about the energy on the sideline, when there's been some questions, I thought that was really smart by Sark to, like, know when to let him get a little riled up, know when to let him get a little rowdy.
Let him get the blood flowing.
Right. Like, we've had this conversation before. Sark will play those games, and he knows, I mean, he's amped, and, letting his guys do that here, I think letting it go a little farther than he might normally against any other team, that was smart. Let him get riled up. Let him get worked up. Let him keep mad, right? We said, hold that hate in your heart. Stay mad.
I love it. All right. So we said physicality. The next thing we said that had to get going was a quick passing game. Earlier in the season, the O-line was started out pretty strong this season, and Arch had 3, 4, 5 seconds sometimes to throw the ball. That was going away quickly. Arch needed more. He needed to get the ball out quickly. They needed to find a way to not have these long, slow developing plays. We know Arch loves the deep ball, and he's good at it. But when you don't have time, there's no point in trying to do that right away. They'll get back to it when they've earned that right. You have to earn that deep throw. So they went back to that quick passing game for about 4.5 yards a play for average target in this game for Arch, which was just fine, because what did he do? He took what the defense gave him. That was the game plan going in: move the chains, eat up the clock, long possessions, move the ball, and that's what happened. Like, they were able to do that with Arch this game, and it was a success, a game plan that he could do effectively. The O-line, take some stress off the O-line too. Receivers, trust these speedy, shifty, talented receivers to make plays after the catch. What did you see in that quick pass game that you liked, Megan?
Yeah, look, I thought, and I want to credit the coaching staff too, because this was an adjustment. Number one, just for the game. They were changing it up, what was working, what wasn't. They were calling plays that made sense. They were putting Arch and this offense in a position to have success, right? I talk about that all the time with my dogs. I know what they react to. I know what pisses them off. I know what situations they can handle and what they can't. As a good dog owner, I'm not going to put my dog in a situation that I know is not good for them. And I felt like we had some really good coaching here, right? Like, we weren't putting the team in a position that they couldn't handle this time. It was really nice to see. And to that point, you give this offense a few, some plays that make sense for them. We don't have to win the whole game in one throw. You don't have to put on that cape and play hero ball. So, and that to me had just the snowball effect. You have a few of those shorter passes. Arch gets a little bit of success there. Then we see Wisner really just say, whatever, if my teammates need me, I'm here, I'm running. Wisner is a madman when it comes to playing Oklahoma. So he definitely took that on and said, I know that my team needs this run game to open up. And he opened it up. And that gave more confidence to Arch. And then that opened up more plays, right? It was truly complimentary football. For the first time, maybe this season. I mean, I hate to say that, but
this was the first complete game this season, offense, defense, and special teams. That's for sure. You mentioned Wisner, so let's get into it. The next thing we said was they had to get a run game going for 1,000 reasons, mostly because the team that can run the ball in this environment 9 times out of 10 wins this game. Right. Also, this offense, the play action, all these things depend on being able the defense to respect the run. All those things, go together. And Wisner, again, stepped up in the biggest moment, just like he did at A&M, just like he's done. He did it in the second half of Ohio State, just like he did again against OU. He carried that team, and even Arch had to give him the game ball after the game. This is what Wisner said about, them relying on him, and we starts to wear down. Watch this.
I just feel like the more fatigued I got, the more energized I got, if that makes sense. So the more carries I was getting, the more banged up I was getting. I look at my teammates, and I knew they needed me, and they knew I needed them. So it kind of just fueled me to give more.
Aww.
I love this guy. It
made sense when he says that. It makes sense. The more fatigued they got, the more energized they got, because the more is on the line, right? When the clock is ticking, even though they have the lead, they got to get that first down. He knew the game plan, and even Sark said it was going to be kind of a complicated game plan, but he knew the game plan, and he knew what was on his shoulders in this game, especially with Baxter still out. He's carrying the load.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and again, all credit to Wisner. 22 carries, 94 yards. In the past 2 games versus Oklahoma, Wisner has had 35 carries for 212 yards. So he has really turned this on. And yes, CB, thank you for the comment. Wisner was a soldier and took a beating, but still ran hard. Absolutely. Look, there were a few times you could see he took a shot to the rib cage at one point. And you could tell he came off that field. It hurt. He felt it.
He was in midair, and a defender like helmet to the ribs.
Yeah, and he came off, and Texas wasn't able to quite execute in the running game. So you saw him kind of get thrown right back in, and he took that deep breath and said, all right, man, let's go. F it, we ball, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, props to Christian Clark, and even James Simon came in and played absolutely. A bit. And, in that game, what you want from the young ones when they come in is ball security, number one, ball security. And they did their job. So good job.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that leadership from Wisner, I mean, it was absolutely needed and absolutely felt in this game. So, again, hats off to him, man. It was nice to see him bounce back after, and again, I'm not singling him out for Florida. It was a team performance, all poor performance against Florida, but seeing Wisner bounce back and be that leader and do what he needed to do to help this team out was really great. Another key that we said, you got to get back to solid defense. I think that was the thing, like we've mentioned, that shocked us the most about that Florida game. It felt like the Texas team was exposed. Right, that this defense got exposed a little, and Florida took advantage of everything. And so we knew that the offense was going to, have its ups and downs, but we always thought this Texas defense was solid. And man, what's going on there? So Texas had to get back to that solid defense. We talk about leading in the nation with, stop the run, make sure that we're holding that secondary, that you don't get torched, make sure that you're putting that pressure on and you're playing physical. And what did they do, Rocky?
It was physical. It was they were able to stop the run. They held OU to what, under 50 yards rushing or something, and then they held Mateer, who has been when he was healthy most of their running game, their leading rusher this year, and they held him 14 carries, 5 yards. It's just ridiculous. And they knew that they had to make Mateer one-dimensional. That's the goal all the time, right? Is to make a team one-dimensional. But even more so when you're coming with a quarterback who's going to be coming 17 days off thumb surgery. And, props to Mateer for saying he's 100% ready to go and coming out physically prepared. But Texas defense, Mateer's best throws were right into the Texas defense's head.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, and welcome back, Manny Muhammad.
yeah, look, Manny Muhammad was a game changer in this game. Absolutely. We noted, I mean, him not being there against Florida was noticeable. And
Oh,
it changed
huge.
how Texas played. So, him coming back allowed the secondary to have a little bit more leeway to be able to come in, knowing that his leadership is out there, that he's going to see the field, that he's going to cover a little bit more. Like, it was just a thing to see. Of course, it paid off. Defensive Player of the Week for the SEC. Just really great. I want to say this too. Welcome back, Colin Simmons. We're happy you're
Yes.
here. We're happy you got fired up. 2.5 sacks, 4 pressures. And we were going to mention this a little later, but I want to give this shout out now. Brad Spence, 6 pressures, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. And this was all in 16 pass rush snaps.
That is some elite proficiency out of Brad Spence, and I'm sure they'll give him a bigger and bigger role as the season goes on.
Absolutely. Lance Jackson, 4 pressures, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hurries. This is all in 8 pass rush snaps. So
yeah, Nate says Lance motherfucking Jackson, the pup be biting. I love that, right? You know, as the pup if they bite, and Lance Jackson bites. Yes,
absolutely. And so this was, I think these are a couple guys that we're going to hear more. We're going to hear more from. And what a game to really establish yourself in the limited time that they had, the limited snaps that they had. They took advantage of it and they made their presence known when they were in the game. And that's huge. Texas's ability to be able to rotate guys out, play a few snaps, and never drop off made a huge difference in this game for sure.
All right, so let's fly through our last keys of the game real quick. So we said Florida, the way that Florida rose up after their butt kicking to South Florida, Miami, with their backs against the wall. We talked about, caged animals, beat them down. How do you respond, right? Do you fold over or do you fight back? Texas fought back, especially, the players say, oh, we didn't hear about the article. How could they have not heard about the article? Or just the media in general that had them down in the dumps, right? And cast them aside, and all they did was fight back. So Megan, penalties is what we said. Keep your head in the game, play emotional, but not emotionally, right? And the first drive, we're like, oh no, Nick Brooks holding, Nick Brooks ball side, all the things. But then we realized, young guy, first start in this big environment, all the things, and they settled. And Megan, 4 penalties, 31 yards.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, Rocky.
A rivalry game.
I'm not gonna lie, Rocky. They had me in the first half.
Oh, they had.
I was worried. I was worried on that first drive when we started going, oh God, please no, not now, not here. But again, credit to this team and especially Nick Brooks, man. Like, we've been hard on this O-line. It's no secret they've had some troubles. And again, Brooks wasn't perfect, but I'll tell you what. He fought this whole time and he made adjustments.
What
and
talent.
I really think this was a great game for him. And you saw a huge jump in his output, in his confidence, in his level of play. So huge shout out to Brooks, man. He did well in this game, especially considering the struggles that the O-line's been suffering throughout.
He got going.
Heck yeah, man. It was really good to see. We saw that in that clip earlier, just that push that the O-line had. They were determined. They helped that run game out quite a bit. And then, of course, you follow it with that patient running of Wisner. He was seeing the holes. He was making his cuts really nice. And I felt like Wisner was healthier this game, too, than he was against Florida. So just a great bounce back, for everybody here. I do want to say that, we could jump into this block in the back conversation. OU fans are definitely blaming the whole game on that run back, on Niblett's run back. What about the block in the back? Listen, man.
How many holdings were not called?
That's it, right? I think that block in the back was a little questionable as far as like where it was. Did it affect things? Was he blocked into somebody? But let's just say the block in the back gets called. That touchdown comes back. Texas still wins the game.
Texas still wins by 10. Okay, fine. Take away that touchdown. Texas still wins by 10.
So Ed, you're right. I mean, this was a game where I felt for the most part there were a few calls that were a few no calls that were pretty egregious. But for the most part, it felt like the refs weren't inserting themselves too much in this game, especially given how the SEC reffing has been.
Right.
I thought for the most part it wasn't too bad. So, and then the last point, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but again, don't miss opportunities. Take what you're given, and Texas absolutely did that. Again, Manning was checking down. We have said that we're going to watch his growth every week, and we did. Even in that Florida game, the positives that we could take from that was that Arch Manning made a bunch of steps forward there. He stood strong in the pocket. He was seeing things a little bit better. Now, granted, it was rough. I mean, he was running. He was on his butt a lot, but he was stepping in that pocket. He knew he was going to take hits, and he took them for his team to do what he could. For this game against OU, it was like the next progression from that. So that pocket presence was even better. Watching him make guys miss in the pocket, extending plays, giving our guys an opportunity to get open, being super aware of where your where your line of scrimmage is, where your guys are, where people are supposed to be. I thought this was one of the best games that we've seen from Arch Manning. He was throwing some dimes on the run, but he was squaring up and throwing. He was moving like he knew what it was a thing of beauty, man. It was really nice to see. In my opinion, this was one of the best games that we've seen from Arch. And this kind of solidified him. Again, if we're just talking mood, we're talking vibes, we're talking like how the energy affected it. This to me, like this has always been Arch's team. We know that. There's no debate there, right? All of his teammates have always talked him up, how great he is. They love him. They love this guy. He's a lot of fun. He gets it. But this game felt to me for the first time, like outwardly in the game, you could see Arch was like, this is my team. These are my guys.
I agree.
Ain't nobody going to touch them. Ain't nobody going to touch me. Like, this is our time. And I thought that was really, really cool.
All right. You mentioned taking advantage of opportunities. When they were back in their own, after it was a punt, and then I want to say it was Jelani McDonald. Someone had a personal foul on the punt return, and they were way back in their own 7-yard line or something. It was 3rd and 7 from their own 9. And like you mentioned, that scramble drill, keeping things alive, taking advantage of opportunities. This is an NFL level throw from Arch Manning to Parker Livingston. Floats it, he scrambles, and then floats it right to the sideline, just a step where only Parker can get that ball. NFL level throw, composure with, OU's defense right on him. So those kind of plays they build on, right? That's going to give him more confidence. And the receivers are learning Arch just as much as Arch is learning the receivers, and everyone's getting more of an understanding of how they can help each other on the field. So good teams have week-to-week improvement. Even though they took a step back the previous game, they have definitely taken a step forward this week.
Yeah, several, I'd say.
All over the field, they've taken a step forward.
And I want to point something out too, and shout out to Corey Mose for breaking this down on one of his broadcasts. But he was showing the difference where Arch Manning is just so situationally aware, and this is where being a Manning and growing up in that family and having smarts and being cerebral about football, just understanding the game and the situation really came to play, in my opinion. So, it was towards the end of the game. Arch had an opportunity. He could have run into the end zone. He could have run up the score a little bit, but he knew he needed to run that clock out. So what did he do? He got the first down and he slid to keep that clock running, to keep it going, take all the time off you want, so that Texas could then get in victory formation instead of maybe giving OU the ball back and giving them some hope, right? So stuff like that, that was really impressive to watch that happen. And watching it in real time, you're thinking, oh man, what unselfish football. How, like, this kid's smart, because it's easy to get caught up, especially in a rivalry game like this. It's easy to get caught up and say, F it, I'm going to run it into the end zone. We're going to run this up as much as possible. Right. So that's another criticism I don't want to hear. Oh, Texas offense didn't score that much. They could have. All right. There
was a dropped pick 6. There was, there could have been more points. Yeah. The physicality, if you watched the game and not just look at the box score, if you watched the game, Texas dominated OU in that game. Absolutely. If you watched it, don't just go by box scores all the time, right? Yeah. All right, so let's move through, Megan. Offense. Let's do a little bit of offense, a little bit of defense, and then the special teams, and then we'll give our flowers to who we think really stood out in this game. It's hard to even do that because there were so many great performances, but we have to say, and CB, you mentioned this in the comments. This was the greatest third quarter in Sark's tenure. From the team that was one of the worst in the country in third downs, and defense was OU's defense was one of the best in the country on third downs. What a statement Texas made coming out after the half and moving the chains over and over on third down. Texas had 25 plays in the third quarter compared to OU only having 4. They dominated time of possession, having almost 13 and a half of the 15 minutes and outscored them 10-0. And OU hasn't scored in the second half in like 3 of the 4 games with Brett Venables, like not even a point in the second half. So, wow. From a team that last year and the year before, third quarter was miserable. That's when they would blow the big lead that they had in the first half. What a flip of the script with the way they came out after halftime this game.
Yeah, again, shout out, like we said at the top of the program, shout out to the coaches for just having a game plan. Those halftime adjustments, again, the team never dropped in intensity. They never hung their heads. They never acted like they were out of it. It always felt like Texas had it in control. And then shout out to the coaches. Again, those adjustments at halftime for Texas to come out and just dominate that third quarter like that. Just, again, own the clock, understand the kind of football that they needed to play, and come out with the intensity that they did and the adjustments. It was pretty. It was pretty football.
Beautiful.
That's what it is. It was just beautiful football.
Makes a big difference when the O-line, I know they've been moving people around. We know Coach Flood is fantastic at cross-training them and trying them at different things. But I think, like we mentioned earlier, they really found something with Nick Brooks there in the line. And they were pushing forward. They were establishing their will. They were running down that defensive line. And this might be the best D-line Texas sees until maybe the Aggies again, Georgia, but this might be one of the best they see all year, and they held their own. And, we talked about the scramble drill that the receivers were helping Arch out. But let's take a second, Megan, and have our Manning moment. There's a couple things we have to share for our Manning moment. One is fire the damn cannon, Megan.
Convert on third down. They ended up 9 of 16 on third down.
Arch going, woo! He got to fire the cannon, and of course the wave. Everybody, I don't know where it is. Anyway, here it is.
Just sprinkle it in just enough with David Shaw on that offense.
Wave.
The best part about
what did you think about the wave? Was that the same as the stare down?
Look, I know that Arch commented and said what he was supposed to say after the presser. I kind of wish he hadn't, though. He said, "Look, I was just caught up in the emotion. That's not the kind of." He's like, "I was just waving for the fans. That's not the kind of player I want to be. I was just caught up in the emotion." Man,
wave goodbye. It's not like you're not shooting the finger at them.
You're not grabbing your
drive
crotch.
Home. They were all headed to the exits about that time. So
yeah, no doubt. Look, you're not grabbing your crotch. You're not doing silly things. You're waving. My favorite thing about that, Rocky, is the look on his face. He has just got this childlike delight in his face as he's almost like prom king waving, right? That parade wave.
It's that sarcastic,
just the innocent.
I love it. He's having
smile.
Fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's having fun. He's not being an ass. We've seen players be asses.
Sure.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good, clean fun.
Agreed. And on a level of on a scale of 1 to Baker Mayfield, this was maybe a 2 on the douchebag level. It wasn't. I never looked at that and went, "Oh, that's offensive." You know what
have
I mean?
To be very sensitive to.
Yeah, no doubt.
From the things that we see, and anyway. All right, so let's give a little love. We touched a bit on Trey Wisner and getting the game ball from Arch. You got to interview with Holly Rowe after the game, and just how proud everyone was of his effort and how much of the game plan depended on him playing his best ball, and he did. I have to mention we've had Angie Weisner, Trey Weisner's mom, on the show before. She is an absolute amazing mama, just wonderful, wonderful woman. And she, of course, is Trey Weisner's biggest fan. And so she put this picture as her new profile picture with the caption, "I hope some of y'all remember y'all comments," because the parents see it when you don't keep it positive or productive. They see it. And of course, constructive criticism, these young men are making good money and they are semi-pro now, but also these are people's kiddos, right? These are people's children, and they see what you write and keep it. Yeah, they see it. So I love her new picture when he was on the sideline injured, and now he's back. And thank goodness. And the word is maybe Baxter is training this week, and maybe Baxter is ready for Kentucky this week. So hopefully, all right. Rocky, you said his hammy was healthy, and I doubted it. He looked healthy and awesome. I was just reporting what other people were saying. I wasn't in the doctor's room with him. I just saw reports that he was supposed to be healthy, ready to go, and wow, was he ready to go?
But it was a different Trey, right?
Yes.
I think in Florida, nobody ever questioned that man's heart. And I mean, he was given what he could give in Florida. We saw him pull up and grab that hammy, and that's an easy thing to re-aggravate. But he didn't quite have the pop and the cut that we were hoping to see in Florida. But
and behind that line that day, how could you?
Yeah, well, that's the truth. But again, during this OU game, you could tell. I mean, he was looking a lot better. He was making cuts. Again, we always know that he's a patient runner, but he was seeing the holes well, and he was making the cuts. And then I'll tell you, yards after contact for Weisner this game, that's a criticism that this offense has had too, is, again, it goes back to the physicality, right? Like, they had been kind of lacking there. And this was a game where Texas wasn't going to be beat. It took, Trey, there were a couple plays. Which was it? I'm trying to remember when this was. I think it was the third quarter, where it looked like he might have been tackled, just a yard or two after the line of scrimmage. And there was just a cluster of dudes. And all of a sudden, whoop, there goes Weisner. He pops out. Nobody got him. And he took off for another 20 yards. I mean, that was
he had a 37-yard run, I think, on Saturday against one of the best rushing defenses in the country. So we have to keep noting that OU's rush defense was supposed to be one of the best in the country, and Trey did that. Quinn Trey did.
But let me bring this up, and this is the conversation I do want to have. Was OU's defense as good as advertised, and Texas just made them look silly? Or was OU exposed for being overrated because of the competition? OU defense had some crazy inflated numbers. There's no question. They were one of the best defenses as far as third down defenses goes. They were one of the best for stopping the run. They were one of the best for X, Y, and Z. But I'll tell you, you go back and you look at the quality of the teams that OU had played up to this point, and you got to question some of those numbers now. Was that truly just an all-out crazy OU defense shutting down okay-ish teams, or was it okay-ish teams inflating the numbers for this defense? And I think go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I definitely don't think Texas made them look silly. The stats weren't that great. I mean, Texas offense only scored 16 points, right? We'll get to in a second with special teams, but Texas offense only scored 16 points. Arch passed for 166 yards. They only rushed for 136 yards. That's about 300 yards total offense. So that's not blowing OU's defense out of the water. I think the difference was this is the first time they saw a defense that matched what they were trying to do. And that's why they, again, couldn't score a touchdown against Texas, right? They had been lighting up other teams, no problem, but they hadn't faced a defense like Texas. So the offense did enough, more than enough, right? But really, when you look at OU scoring, 40, 25, 44, 35, they're used to scoring 30, 40 points. They didn't do that against Texas, and that was the difference, was that they hadn't faced a defense like Texas's.
Yeah, Yeah, you're not wrong. But again, just strictly talking OU defense, you're right. Like Texas didn't set the world on fire, but they were also 10 of 17 for third down efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
0-0 on fourth down because they didn't have to take a fourth down, right? Like
Yep.
they went to kick. I appreciated Sark was, trying to take the points there. We'll talk about special teams in a minute. You're right. Arch Manning, 166 yards, but again, I mean, that's not a crazy stat or some like, it's not 500 yards, but we talked about this. What he needed to do and what Texas had to do was take what the defense was giving him. And the defense was giving up the short dink and dunk, right? The defense gave up the run yards to Wisner. Again, Texas finished with 136 rushing yards. And I think this is the key too, 0 turnovers. They only got to Arch one time. They only sacked him once. And OU came into this game being able to pressure quarterbacks. But 0 turnovers, only 1 sack for Arch. Again, you're right. It wasn't a statistically crazy game, but I never felt like the OU defense was having their way at any point in this game. I really didn't. I feel like Texas had a solid game plan and they were able to grind it out and it just never felt to me like I was going, "Oh damn, there's the OU defense. Oh damn, now the OU defense is taking this game over." I never felt that way. And I credit Texas's offense for that.
Yep, good point, Matthew. The O may not have scored a lot of points, but they sure kept their offense off the field.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that was part of the game plan too, with the offense that had been, like we said, scoring 35, 40 points a game. All right, so let's do we mentioned the defense. We have to show when we talked earlier about the wide receivers of OU, they started to get a little hesitant late in the game, and it could be because of plays like this, where Deion Burks thinks he has a gap. Anthony Hill supposedly has a defender blocking. I mean, an offensive player blocking him, but he just hung out until he needed to spring and lay Deion Burks hit him like a wall. Watch this, Megan.
Slow start to his Oklahoma career. He's in the game. They hand it off in an end around to Burks, and Burks slammed down.
When that happened live, Nadia and I replayed it like 3 times. Like, oh my God. You can tell it's like, I bet Burks thought, I have this big gaping hole right here. And Hill was like, I'm not even being blocked. Boom.
Look, it was, I don't know if you could hear it on TV, but that was one of those hits in person where people went, "Oh, damn." Like you could hear because again, Ant Hill was like, no, sir. That was a grown man tackle right there. That was it. You and me, you ain't getting by me, and I'm putting you on your booty. That is what that was. It was pretty football.
Oh man. Okay. So we'll talk about, when we talk a little bit more about OU in a few minutes, we'll talk more about what they did to Mateer, but man, they did have him in a spin cycle. Special teams, Megan, we have to go the good, the bad, kind of the funky, not so much the bad, but the funky,
the good, the bad, and the funky,
the missed field goals. Mason Shipley was 3 for 5 and he missed the 55-yarder, the first one that doinked off which would have made it 3-3 earlier in the game. And then later in the game, he missed a 56-yard, but he did make a 48-yard as his long. How are you feeling about the kicking with those field goals?
Look, I think in today's day and age, both in college and in NFL, like we've gotten spoiled with these insanely long field goals. It used to be that 50 yards was crazy pants, right? Like that was excessive. So the fact that the only times that he missed were beyond the 50, I don't love it, but I'm not mad about it, right? We definitely learned where his limits were in this game. I will say I was sitting in the end, like I was in section 12, like right in front of Bevo. And so we had a really good vantage point of the doink and the miss. And it just, the doink was close, but you could just tell the leg, it just ran out of juice. Both of the kicks just kind of ran out of juice. So, I think it's just something that we have to understand. It's always nice when you've got somebody like Dicker, the kicker, that can just boot him for days, is Mr. Consistency. But Yeah, I mean, we know where his limits are. We know
And
what
I'm
the
going to
offense has to do.
disagree. I'm going to disagree. If Sark sees him kick like that all the time in practice, and he had no problem rolling him out there twice for those points and then trust the defense if he missed, I'm going to think that this is one. The first one was, I mean, it's all new environment. He's still a young kicker. Like, I'm just going to say I'm not going to say he can't make those kicks
He very well can, but I'm telling you,
think he can. So he must be able to make them in practice.
Maybe, but I'm just saying the second one especially fell well short.
It did.
The doink was definitely falling short. It was losing steam quickly. And so again, look, this is not, I'm not being ugly. It just is what it is. They were just running out of steam at that point. Maybe it was a product of the environment. Maybe it was just nerves on that day against that team. But I do think Texas has to be a little more cautious. And again, I'm going to say this because we talked earlier about putting your guys in situations where they can be successful. For all the crap that Bert Auburn got last year for missing where he missed, this wasn't that different. All right. Like, we won the game, so it didn't cost us the SEC championship or anything like that. But at the end of the day, they were missed field goals. It's okay. I think he will recover from it. I think he's going to improve.
I think they're very different missed field goals.
I'm just saying we gave our kicker a lot of shit last year. So I didn't like piling on Auburn. I'm not going to pile on to Shipley, but I do think we kind of found his range in this moment. Again, plenty of time to improve, but I get a little more nervous. I don't want to improve against Georgia. I don't want to go in with those questions with the game on the line. Nervous, are we going to make it from 50 plus?
Well, just
right?
like
it changes the game. It changes.
Yeah, just like the defense last week at Florida, this could have been an outlier for him, and we'll see as the season goes on. Yeah, the good news of the special teams, which we've been hoping for, was Ryan Niblett. And let's just take a moment to give him all the love as a real Longhorn. What a team player, what a person that just plays where he's needed. He's gone offense and defense wherever they needed him. He's contributed on special teams. There was some shaky moments earlier as he was getting his feet under him, but he finally got his big punt return. And when you do it in the Red River rivalry, the Red River shootout, when you do it in that game, you are now just Longhorn legend, right? There's only been, what did we say, 3 punt returns in the last 25 years or something like
Texas,
that?
Yeah.
In this big game, and everybody can name them because they're so historic. Here's the clip of his. First, I'm going to show you the clip of his punt return, and then there's somebody got a great video of Arch celebrating that punt return. So here is Niblett's return.
Heavy in that area, came over from Ohio State. Niblett, who carefully fields this one, has some room. Ryan Niblett. Weaving, still running down the sideline. Niblett all the way to the house. 75, no flags.
Nice. No flags. Don't worry about it. A clean play. Here's Arch. Here's Arch celebrating it. This is so cool.
And up 7. We may have just seen it.
20 unanswered points for Texas after Oklahoma took a 6-3 lead. And that is
they show Arch just like, yeah, he's so excited and proud, and everyone on the team knows how much Ryan means as a culture. Niblett means to that team as a culture fit, right, Megan?
Absolutely. CB, thank you for this. That Niblett's punt return touchdown came on the 17th anniversary of Shipley's kick return touchdown. So yeah, again, I love one of the things that I love about this most, especially for him, is for the next 15 years, at least the next 10, we're going to see that replay in the Cotton Bowl as they go through the famous plays of the rivalry, right? Like, that is going to go down in history as one of the greater returns that we've seen. So yeah, it was awesome. Sark was talking about it in the presser that Niblett, I think, has played 6 different positions for Texas. They've tried him out at a lot of places. And I think even Ryan himself said, look, I considered transferring. Things were tough. Things were hard. I was learning, but I bought in, and Coach Sark really fought for me to stay here. And he kept telling me to trust it. And I'm glad I did. So really cool to see that pay off and to see a coach be invested in his players like that. And again, it's a tough time. It's got to be hard for coaches. That temptation to leave and go somewhere else has to be hard for players.
And they're getting actively recruited, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's no such thing as tampering anymore, right? It's just all an open conversation. That's got to be difficult. So considering all those factors and some of the struggles that Niblett had a little bit earlier, it's really nice to see this pay off. And
so proud of him. So happy.
Absolutely. That investment in the player. And the coach is really still working with him and staying with him and sticking with him and really trusting in him to get it and seeing it click. That was awesome.
All right. So before we give our flowers, let's give a little bit of shout out to, you made a great post on Fire the Cannon of the best Longhorn photos and things people wanted to share. So let's share those. Seth Hamilton, this is his golden hat moment. And thank you, Seth, for the amazing, I should have brought it upstairs with me. I'm going to bring it on Wednesday. Most beautiful embossed like custom hat that Megan had made for my birthday. I should have brought it upstairs with me. Anyway, thank you. It's beautiful. And I will share that on Wednesday so everyone can see the beautiful work you did. All right. So Mama Longhorn says 49-0 was one of her favorites.
Yeah, that's hard to beat. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Daniel says this ranks number 2, barely beaten out by the 0-5 win. John Benstead said top 5 all-time game. Thoughts, Megan?
Yeah, look, we talked about this earlier in the program. It ranks up there, probably top 5 for me. I still think 2015 for me was probably my favorite, just because that was such a crazy game that zero people felt that nobody thought that Texas had the talent to match OU. And that was never the question with this Texas team. It wasn't the question of is the talent there? It was just, can they put it together? Can we play a complete game? And Texas sure did. So
there's been so many epic games.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, you
want
to give some flowers, Megan?
Yeah, we've been doing it throughout the whole throughout this whole episode.
45,
35. Yeah. So again, I just want to recap. Manny Muhammad, welcome back. Colin Simmons, welcome back. That there were so many here. So I just really want to shout out the guys again, Lance Jackson, Brad Spence, in the limited time that they had, the limited snaps that they played, they showed out. Those guys are going to make a difference. And I think we're going to hear their name more and more. And even though I mentioned this earlier, I've got to say it again. Brooks, man, you stepped up. And it wasn't perfect from the O-line, but what leaps and bounds difference is, and his heart was there. And I'll tell you, even if he got beat, he came back and he was going to hit somebody and he was looking downfield to hit somebody. So I thought that was a really encouraging, because it had to be hard to hear the criticism. It had to be hard to, they want to win more than we do. They feel it more than we do, right? So for him to respond the way that he did and really show what Coach Flood's seen in him and show that development, just shout out to Brooks again specifically. Rocky, did you have some flowers you wanted to hand out?
Yeah, I want to give some love to the receivers, Moore, Wingo, Livingston, even the tight ends that got involved. We know what it meant for Contravian Wisner to contribute and the O-line to step up to help Arch Manning. But what they also needed was completions and yards after the catch. We talked about this earlier, the short passing game. It was going to be up to them to make things happen after the catch, and I think they did a great job of that. DeAndre Moore, 3 receptions, 50 yards. Wingo, 5 receptions on 5 attempts, on 5 passes. Well, what do you call it? Passes towards, I can't even think right now. Anyway, 5 for 35 yards, but some of those were really key third down plays where they needed to move the chains, and third down being so crucial in this game against regardless who they played, one of the best third down defenses in the country. So OU was supposed to have really schemed to get Texas off the field, and they could not do it. And some of that goes to the receivers. So I want to give them love. And I also have to give a shout out to Grayson Littleton, who has been balling since day one, the true freshman that's just been balling. He got his interception in this game and great run back, high and tight, holding it. I'm so proud of him. So there's so much talent. Again, Ty Anthony Smith, physical, just is so efficient with the snaps he gets. He uses them wisely. There's a lot of love to go around, a lot of improvement on this team. And I think we've given lots of flowers right throughout this game. And yeah, David Willie, you're right. Everyone played with a sense of urgency. And that's all you can ask, right? Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, before we jump in, we do have a little bit to talk about OU because it wouldn't be a Fire the Cannon podcast if we didn't throw a little bit of shade to our biggest rival. Look, before we jump into that, I do want to ask you this, Rocky.
Okay.
Do you feel that this is sustainable? We saw, Florida had their backs against the wall. They came out swinging against Texas. Texas's culture was under fire. We talked about this last Wednesday. And for those that don't understand the difference, it's not the brand, it's the culture that was under fire, right? Like, oh, Coach Sark doesn't get his guys up to play. Oh, these guys aren't playing we're not developed. Oh, whatever, right? The culture was under question, I think, really for the first time in Sark's tenure at Texas.
Right.
And Texas answered that call. Like we said earlier, this was really a game where Texas played Arch. This became Arch's team. We always knew this was his team, right? But in this game, it was Arch's team. There was no question. He took over, and it was just outwardly obvious. It was Texas responded well, and Texas showed a lot of growth and development. And again, they dominated this game much more than the box score shows. It was just, even when Texas was behind, they weren't worried. They weren't pressed. They knew they had this in the bag. So is this a sustainable thing for Texas? Because, while I like how Texas's schedule is going to play out, we still have some opportunities. We don't have OU's schedule. I'll be the first to say that.
We're going to talk about their schedules in a minute. It is no joke. Both of them are tough.
Rough.
One is a little tougher.
So that's what I'm saying. Yes, it's still the SEC, but all things considered, there are some opportunities for Texas. But is this sustainable? Is this just a flash that we saw against our most hated rival? Is this something that Texas can sustain? What do you think?
If the culture's real, then yes. If they stay healthy, then yes. I'll just leave it at that. If the culture is real, then yes. You can show up with physicality, you can show up with urgency, you can show up with intensity. This coaching staff is fantastic. We have to mention the difference of Brent Venables right before the halftime, that cluster mess that cost them at least 3 points, maybe 7 right before the half. It was a big old mess. There was confusion, and those kind of things did not happen with this staff in this game because we have consistency. We have a staff that's worked together for years now, and that they've put the team knew the game plan. The defense knew the game plan. Everyone knew the game plan. And of course, Mohammed ended up with the interception right before the half. They ended up with nothing because they were a mess, and our staff had it together. So I think if you take this consistent staff that's been, drilling the same culture and message for so long, and if all that is real, then it is sustainable. Does that mean they're going to win every game? No.
That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked.
No, I'm just saying, but will they go and I hope what happened at Florida was what lit a fire that they can't take anyone lightly. And I'm not saying they took Florida lightly. I'm just saying they have to come with intensity and urgency every game now. And that's hard to sustain because it
is hard to, like we said, if you can't get up for Texas-OU, you ain't going to get up for anybody, right? But I will say this. I think that I know we hear the coach speak. I know we hear the talk. We prepare for every game. I will tell you, being in the swamp, it felt like we were overlooking Florida. It felt like we did not take that game seriously, and we weren't expecting that environment, and we weren't expecting that intensity. Florida had a bad record, and we expected an injured Lagway and we expected them to kind of fold over because they hadn't looked good in the season before. I personally think, whether we admit it or not, I think Texas played like they weren't properly mentally prepared for Florida. I think they were looking a little ahead to OU. And I think, look, I never want to take a loss like that. That was a bad loss. It was an embarrassing loss.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to seek that silver lining, especially watching how Texas followed it up with this OU game afterwards, I do think that Florida game served as a, hey, stop. This is the SEC. You don't take, even SEC teams with a losing record, you don't take them lightly. This is a week by week. You have to take every team seriously. You're not going to get these flimsy cupcake dudes that have 180-pound linemen, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have big SEC talent dudes on every team on your schedule. So you can't take a damn thing for granted. And I think that was a slap in the face for Texas and a reality check for Texas and a gut check for Texas. And I like how they responded with OU. And I think if they can keep those lessons there and remember how Florida felt, I think we see a different Texas team for the rest of this season.
I hope so. We'll see. We'll see. Take it game by game, and we'll give our new predictions for the season now that things are settling down. So let's talk about the state of OU after this loss. So first of all, going into the game, everyone, once they heard Mateer was back, oh, Texas is going to die. He's going to light Texas up. Texas is scared. Texas has never been scared. Texas is, I don't know I saw people saying, Texas fans are saying they're scared. No, I haven't seen a single person say they were scared of playing Mateer. We even said we wanted them at their best so that there's no excuses, right? We wanted them at their best. We wanted Mateer to be healthy. Even he said, Mateer even said himself that he was 100%. Here it goes. It says pain level was nothing, no excuse. He was ready to go physically, just didn't perform mentally. His eyes weren't where they were supposed to be. He was pretty much directing the DBs to where he was about to throw. So what do you think about him playing that day?
I think, my comments on last Wednesday, were I was convinced Mateer was playing no matter what. Whether he was physically ready or not, OU has always been a program that will bring their guys back. That's just who they are.
Yeah.
I think personally, he looked physically ready. I don't think his head was quite ready. I think he was a little rusty, and I think that his team didn't do him any favors. We knew that OU didn't have a running game. So this was kind of like a situation that we saw with Arch earlier, right? Like, not quite clicking, things in the head are just a little rusty, but still being put in a position where you had to play hero ball and you had to try to put on the cape and do everything for your team offensively. I just don't think he was quite back up to speed and ready for that after the time off. So physically, I will say this. I mean, he was slinging the ball early on. He had some nice spirals. He had some good.
Yes.
And where Mateer struggled, there were a few throws that were lame ducks, but where Mateer struggled wasn't physical. It wasn't the mechanics. It was mental. I mean, he was telegraphing where he was going. He wasn't seeing the field as well as he wanted to, as well as he has done in the past. It just wasn't his day mentally. He wasn't there mentally. So as much as I like to give OU crap and say that they're going to push a player no matter what, and I believe that, and I know that in my heart to be true, I do think physically he was okay. I think he was fine. But it was the mental part that really bit him in the butt this game.
Yeah. 3 interceptions, 20 for 38 passing, 5 yards on 14 carries. And remember, he was their leading rusher going into this game. Sacked 5 times. He was responsible for 0 points in this game. 0 points. Yeah. His QBR, Megan, 42.2 QBR.
That doesn't sound very good. I feel like that's not very good.
Sounds like he's missing 100 points in his QBR. So
look, I will.
Go ahead.
No, I will say this. I respect the kid. I think he's a better player than what he showed this
Right?
past game. I think the Texas defense showed up and they were in his head. I
Yep.
think Texas did a great job of messing with that kid's mind. Um, I think he will improve, and I respect him. And I especially respect that he owned the performance. And the OU presser afterwards, he said it. He said, physically, I'm fine. I'm okay. My hand is fine. He said, this was on me. My head wasn't, I wasn't seeing things. I wasn't performing at the level that I know I can. I own that. That was my fault. I respect that. I respect a quarterback that comes out and owns that kind of thing, says straight up, I was fine. He wasn't making excuses.
Yep. All
But
right. This
yep,
is a funny video. This is a funny video that you found on TikTok, and it was. Did I even upload it? Oh, fine. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this is a funny video. It's just good, clean fun. Right here we go.
The top 5 worst throws of week 7. At number 5, we got John Mateer, who tosses a meatball into the Texas defense. Luckily, that's his only mistake. Next up, we got the quarterback at Oklahoma, John Mateer. He launches the ball down the field, connecting with his favorite target, Texas defenders. Let's run this back. Only elite quarterbacks can turn their receivers into defensive backs in just one throw. At 3, we got number 10 on the Sooners, who tried to throw a touchdown for Texas, but just couldn't connect with his target. At number 2, we have a transfer Washington State quarterback who has the ability to transition offensive players into defense. And the worst throw of the week goes to John Mateer. Obviously, his receiver should have stopped running to catch this. Texas walks away with almost a free win. Follow for more football.
I'm sorry.
Should have stopped running to catch that.
It gets funnier every time you watch it. And I will say, shout out to King. This is on TikTok at King of New York Sports. This was his recap of the 5 worst throws in college football. Look, it was creative. It was funny. I even saw OU fans going, okay, that's funny.
That's
funny.
funny. That's why we're saying meatball material. He threw a meatball.
It was meatball mid-tier for sure.
Oh, I mean, don't want to rag on him. He came back. He fought serious props. He came back 17 days after a surgery because he wanted to play in the biggest rivalry environment in college football. He probably came to Texas because that is one of the things that you want to do when you were at OU is play in that game. So nothing but respect for him gutting it out. He took, and we've seen the video, there are several times where he got a helmet to the hand. He had to fall in his hand. He got hit in that hand, not necessarily, I'm not saying intentionally, but that's part of the game. He got hit in that hand a lot. He kept going. He fought to the end, and respect for him as a competitor. But as far as like, was he going to outplay Arch Manning? And the stats just aren't there. And Arch didn't have elite stats, but Arch managed a game that won. So that's what matters at the end of the day.
CB, I appreciate this. Again, one OU fan blamed the sun for Mateer's struggle because the sun that Mateer was playing in was very different than the sun that Texas was playing in.
Yeah,
so
we had different suns. Well, they had to sit in the sun as the visitors, right?
I can see that being a problem, right?
I know, but hello. Okay. Anyway, so Brent Venables, we call him Burnt Vegetable. Burnt Vegetables, coach.
Only the most professional of podcasting here is all I'm saying.
All right, so you got to say, beating your rival matters. As the coaching staff, we've seen it with right before Ohio State won the national championship. He was still, by some fans, get him out of here because he had lost to Michigan again and again and again. Beating your rivals matters. Now, Brent Venables is now 1-3 against Sark, right? Sark, we don't just cherry pick numbers. We're talking about Brent Venables at OU, right? 1-3 against Sark. Butt kickings in these games, 49-0, 30-something 3, whatever it was. And then this last one, 23-6. And then the one where he did win, shootout to the end, great game. They survived. But do you think it matters? Should his career be defined by his lack of success against Texas, or just as long as he wins, as long as he beats Kent State and Michigan every now and then, it's okay?
I will say this. We say at Texas, the standard is the standard, and you play up to that. I think part of the reason this rivalry is so good is because we actually respect OU and because OU has hardware on the wall.
Right.
So as much as Texas says the standard is the standard, we have expectations at the University of Texas. You play to a certain level and things below that are not acceptable. OU has a similar conversation, right? We go about it different ways, perhaps, but OU has the history and they have the expectation. I think Venables has gotten a long leash at OU because he is an OU guy, right? Like he grew up in that system. He loves that school. He loves that university. He's got intensity that Oklahoma likes. And I've been saying this from day one. I think Venables is an incredible defensive coordinator. I don't know that he is the guy that is ready to be, Coach Mac Brown said this all the time. He said, you've got to be a CEO as a head coach. And I just don't know that Venables is ready to take on those CEO duties and pick the right guys to manage his team and to know how to replace that time in and time out. So I think he's gotten a long leash. You brought this tweet up. I will say this. I tweeted this back in July 26, got a lot of heat for it. I said Oklahoma's going through your Tom Herman era, getting a few skill players, ignoring the trenches. Yes, those are inflammatory words intentionally, y'all. I am a Longhorn. Not developing players. Burnt vegetables ain't it, Sooners. Please extend him. So I got so much heat. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. He's been recruiting in the trenches. I said, yeah, he's been ignoring it, but he also hadn't been developing there. I think we saw that.
And look who got manhandled at the trenches on both sides of the ball this week.
Exactly. So while I think that Venables has gotten a long leash because of his ties to OU and because they really wanted him, because they were so mad at Lincoln Riley and because they wanted him to work out for being an OU guy. But I'll tell you, Rocky, I think that leash is starting to get pulled in. I think it's starting to get popped short. And you don't have Jeff Lebby out there anymore to make your offense look crazy. And I will say this, Oklahoma has been known, we talk about in the NFL, look at all these quarterbacks.
Six starting quarterbacks came through OU. Six NFL quarterbacks right now. Texas doesn't have one starting quarterback in the NFL right now.
I don't care if you wear burnt orange or not. You have to respect a program that currently has 6 starting NFL quarterbacks. That being said, those are Lincoln Riley dudes. Venables had some of them, but look, I don't think you're seeing the development. I think we're seeing Texas is consistently, and other programs, it's not just Texas, but Texas is winning the battle for recruiting. I think we're seeing OU's recruiting numbers drop. You're seeing OU put fewer and fewer players into the NFL the longer that Venables has been there. So all of this to say, if it were just him losing to Texas, if it were just his 1-3 record against Sark, but he was winning SEC championships or Big 12 championships and showing up in the college football playoff and winning some games in the college football playoff, I think it's a different conversation. But the fact of the matter is it isn't. Yes, he has a bad record against Texas, and OU is slipping. They're slipping in, again, we thought we saw this year, this is the best OU team ever. They're ranked number 6. Well, I think they got exposed. They hadn't really played anybody big. And now you're continuing that. All right, well, your recruiting is dropping. You're dipping in recruiting. You're dipping in development. You're dipping in your wins. I don't know how much longer BV stays at OU. I think that goodwill is running thin. And I think that seat is heating up pretty quick.
I think what's frustrating probably for fans, we'll get into this next. I went into the OU media, right? Sunday afternoon, got the Titans game on. I don't want to listen because it's a mess. So I'm playing some YouTube videos of some OU media. And it is the overall feeling from a lot of them were that they were just humiliated, outcoached, exposed. You use that word, exposed. They feel like there's no run game and there's no answer coming for the run game. Some were saying Mateer was rushed back. Others were like he wouldn't have played him if he weren't ready to go. So it was mixed about that. A lot of them hated the game plan, especially when Venables made a comment like that the Texas defense did exactly what they thought they were going to do. with
Cool.
pressures and coverages or whatever. And, the post-game press conference, he was up there with Mateer and a couple other players. And he said they did exactly what they thought they were going to do. Okay. It's one thing when Coach Sark says, oh man, we got out there and they just did what we hadn't seen on film. They just showed us all new things. That's frustrating enough. You've never seen a single thing they did before. That's frustrating. But to come out, it's even worse to come out and say they did exactly what we thought they were going to do to us.
And we couldn't do a damn thing about it.
And we didn't plan anything for it. And then we'd never adjusted to it.
Yeah. Again,
that'd be frustrating.
And the one win that Venables does have against Coach Sark was kind of unscheduled, right? Whole new quarterback, Dylan. I'm remembering this right, aren't I? Dylan Gabriel coming in and just like we didn't have an answer for him. He played his mind out. Wasn't that how that game went?
That was also the one where Quinn Ewers came out and threw a couple of interceptions early, and it was just a funky, weird start. Texas got down quick, and Quinn Ewers had to fight back and try to lead that team back.
Yeah. So look, OU fans, I hate to say this, as much as you're mad about the dude you call the bitch out west, stay mad at him. I get it. I understand it. It felt gross how he left. But frankly, like, if you're being realistic about it, you got to look at what Lincoln Riley did for OU. He was the chosen one. He was brought up under Stoops, and he was the guy developing your players. And you're right. There were a lot of transfers, but I'm not going to knock a guy that sees transfer potential and is able to get him to your program, and then you develop him even more. Like it or not, that's the world we live in right now. So I'm not going to knock Lincoln Riley for doing that. But I think at some point, OU fans are going to have a real gut check conversation with themselves about what is going on with your program, and is this a product that you're happy with? Do you feel that you can win? And I'll say this, Rocky, we brought it up a little bit earlier. You mentioned that win against Michigan. Well, Michigan isn't looking as dominating as we thought they were this season. Now, maybe they bounce back, maybe they do better, but I got to say, I feel like Michigan as a program.
Done all right. They went into Nebraska and won, but then, man, they got humiliated by USC.
What's Nebraska won recently, though?
I know, but I'm saying it's still a tough place to go into and win, especially, I mean, it's hard to judge Michigan right now because they have a freshman quarterback, right? Like, and they got to play them his second game ever, right?
But that's hard
to judge that, right?
I just don't think Michigan is as good. I think Michigan has talent, but I don't think Michigan is like I don't think Michigan would do well in the SEC. I just don't.
Not this year, no.
That's what I'm saying. So, yes, you got that win against Michigan. I mean, hell, it's the same thing that kind of happened at Texas. Look, if we're just calling a spade, Texas played Michigan at Ann Arbor. It was a great game. It was a lot of fun. It's a hard environment to play in. That win helped propel Texas through the season. But at the end of the day, Michigan wasn't the team that the nation thought they were at the end of the year.
But they could beat Ohio State in a week.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm saying. Look, I just
it's those rivalry games. You never know. Those records out the window.
They're crazy. But that's what I'm saying. Look, I think that OU still has an opportunity to bounce back. They have an opportunity to show. I mean, for God's sakes, they're 5-1, right? Like that's not a bad record. But now you're getting into the meat of their schedule. And while we said this earlier, there aren't any easy games in the SEC. Everybody's got dogs on their team. I wouldn't want to be OU. I wouldn't want their schedule. Say that we've got an easy schedule as much as you want. I wouldn't trade places with OU. That's Rocky. Can we pull it up? Let's look at what they got coming
right
up.
Here. Let's look at their schedule. We're going to go ahead and give our predictions now that we've seen, okay, we're halfway through the season. We're halfway through the regular season. We've seen what we're going to see from these teams. Let me zoom out. We've already seen where they've been. Let me zoom out. Okay. So, all right. So they were 5-1 going into this game. Their best win on paper was Michigan. The Auburn game, we can argue all day about the refs who screwed Auburn again. Sure. All right. So, but still respectable win. That's fine. So they go this week to a team that's in the corner right now, a team that's got a culture-defining moment at home. Well, they're at home, South Carolina. So they're going into face a team that with a fantastic talent, Lenora Sellers, who just went on the road and struggled at LSU. So they have to fight. They're going to have to play a team that's in the same position as Texas was last week. Then they get to host Ole Miss, not looking the hottest right now, but still a top 5 team. Then they have to go to Tennessee, survived Arkansas, but still survived. Then they have to go to Alabama, who might be the hottest team in the country right now. Just went into Missouri, right, and handled business. Then they get to host Missouri. We'll see what they are by this point of the year. And then they get to host right now top 10. I don't think LSU's a top 10 team, but they're ranked top 10. So they get to finish the season with a team that was ranked and then 5 more teams that are currently ranked. How do you think they finish in those last 6 games, Megan? With little to no run game.
I might give OU 2 wins on that schedule.
Which two? Which of these 2 teams could this Oklahoma team beat?
I think, yeah, without a run game, man, it's hard to say. I think Tennessee is a little suspect, but you're playing in Knoxville. I don't know. I think OU drops 2 of either South Carolina, Tennessee, maybe LSU. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't see many more wins for Oklahoma on this schedule the way that they're playing right now. I just don't. Rocky, what are you thinking?
I think if they can pull any of these out, maybe South Carolina, Ole Miss is struggling, so maybe they can upset Ole Miss at home.
Yeah. Man.
I don't know.
Ole Miss.
Missouri defense.
No, they have it in Norman. Okay.
Yeah, they get Ole Miss at home. That Missouri defense is legit. They struggled against Alabama, but OU does not have the offense Alabama has. So oh man, maybe LSU because they're just not lighting it up right now.
That's what I'm saying. I think
if they're lucky, they finish 3-3, but I would think more 2-4.
That's what I think too. I think
which makes them a bowl eligible team.
I see the potential wins as being South Carolina, Tennessee, and LSU. I think they take maybe 2 of those 3. The rest of them, man, I don't know. I just don't. Again, without a run game and with what Texas exposed about OU's defense, it's on film now. And all of you better believe that all of these coaches saw that happen. So I don't know. I think OU limps through the rest of this schedule. And again, I'm saying it outright. I wouldn't want this schedule. That's a gauntlet, man.
All right, let's look at Texas's schedule for the rest of the season. Let me close that and let me open this one, and I'll zoom in when I have it open so we can see it bigger because it's so tiny. All right, here's the Texas Longhorn schedule for the rest of the season. We know Texas right now is 4-2, and let us know in the comments if you're on the YouTube stream what you think Texas schedule record's going to be for the rest of the season. We know they go to Kentucky this Saturday. Then they go to Mississippi State. We saw Mississippi State give other teams all they can handle at home. Then we get Vanderbilt at home. Right now, they're ranked number 17 in the country. They still look really good. They will still have a great Pavia quarterback. And then we go to Georgia. Tough place to play. Only Bama's won there in years and years. Then we get Arkansas at home, and right now we get a pretty solid, balanced attack of A&M.
One of the best A&M teams we've seen in a long time.
Definitely, absolutely.
Looking at this,
what do you think? Looking at that,
yeah. Look, I will say this. I think that again, Texas can't take any of these teams lightly. You can't overlook any of them because they're going to bring the A game, and everybody wants the opportunity to show Texas their place, right? Texas thinks they're too big for their britches, for the SEC britches, right? So everybody's itching for an opportunity to pop Texas in the mouth. I will say, I think Mississippi State is going to be a sneaky good game. And I think if Texas takes that one lightly, that could get real ugly real fast.
It's a Florida recipe for disaster if they don't come with it.
Absolutely. But looking at this realistically, after Texas is kind of balanced out and we're seeing progression in every game, I'm gonna say Texas has maybe one loss. I'm gonna say, don't hate me for this, Rocky, but between Georgia and A&M, I can see Texas maybe dropping one of those games. I can see the potential for winning all of these. Like, I wouldn't feel surprised or like that was a crazy
You
thing that
see a
Texas
path
could
where
win.
Texas could go into Georgia and win that game?
Yeah, I do.
I do not.
I do. I think again, I think Texas has a burr under their saddle for it. Now, historically, Kirby Smart's had Sark's number, but I like the game plans that we've seen from Sark this year. I think he's made some adjustments and he's made some changes, and we've seen different looks from Texas. I think Arch Manning is going to be a difference maker in that. And I think our special teams, Texas has played Georgia very close, very, very close. Texas, they have
not in the last game, yes, but not when they came to Texas. They pulled away and whooped Texas.
Well, I think though that last game we were surprised by their quarterback coming in, right? They lost Carson Beck.
Well, we took that game to overtime, right? And had a chance to win it with kicks and didn't. So
and now we've got a better special teams. Now we've got Arch Manning managing games really well. Now if we get a little bit of development, if we can keep establishing that run, keep having that run game, I think, and we've got plenty of tape. We got plenty of film on Stockton now. So I think, yes, I think they're absolutely, I can see a world that Texas goes in and beats Georgia.
I'm going to have to say until they do it, I can't pick them to do it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Georgia.
That's fair. And that's why truly, I think we all know, again, Pavia is going to be tough. Pavia is going to be tough. Yep. Mississippi State, sneaky good. There is a world that Texas drops 4 of the next 6 games. That can happen too. But the way that this team is developing, the way that they're coming together, the way that Arch Manning things are clicking, man. They're getting together. And if the O-line can hold up and do enough, they don't have to be perfect, but if they can do enough, and if this Texas defense continues to be who we know that they are and live up to the talent and we stay healthy, I can definitely see Texas closing this season out 5-1 through the rest of the games.
All right. David Wheeler agrees with you. We lose maybe 1. Miracle Martinez, there's no way Texas loses against the Aggies. Yeah. Man, having that game at home I know they went into Kyle Field last year and handled business, but this is a different A&M team.
It absolutely is.
We know they have Moss, their running back, is going to be out with a high ankle sprain for a minute. So we'll see if he's back by that game. And if he is, how healthy he is and how conditioned he is. I would say I'm going to pick Georgia to be a loss. I picked that before the season for it to be a loss. And somewhere in there is another loss. I just don't see how they're going to. I love what they did against OU. Love it. And I can say if they bring that intensity and game planning and all the things with them to every game, they will be in it and they could win every game. But this is such a tough schedule. I'm going to say they finish 4-2 in those last 6 games.
And you think Texas drops Georgia and... You got to say it. Look, I said it. You got to say it.
It's going to be a home game. It's either going to be Vanderbilt or A&M. I don't know. Yet. I'm going to, yeah. It's hard. I just feel like A&M's a really complete team right now.
They are.
And Texas will be playing much better by that week, but so might they. So
yeah, I think this is something they're going to come in with the fire. Again, that's another rivalry. A&M's been embarrassed by Texas a lot. They thought they had it in the bag. The season came down to the SEC championship came down to who won that game, and Texas went into Kyle Field and had their way. And the Aggies aren't going to forget that. And
did you see the SEC shorts this morning?
Yeah, battered Aggie syndrome popping up again.
Battered Aggie, like the Aggies riding high, but here's battered Aggie saying it's not too late for us to still go 8-4.
Could be true, right? Could be
This is
true.
8-4 University, but right now we can't say a word. They're playing really, really well right now, so we can't say a word about that. Anyway, let's fly through really quickly some of the big action of the overall college football as we looked ahead at some of the schedule. The new top 25 is out, and Megan, I want your thoughts on this top 25. Let me close that thing. There we go. There was some pretty big shakeups. Texas is back in the top 25. Not that it really matters too much. At 21, OU dropped all the way down to 14. Tech up to number 7. Aggies up to number 4. Ole Miss didn't look great, so they swapped places down. Any thoughts? I think Alabama should be higher. Any thoughts?
I kind of see Alabama the way that you talk about that Texas versus Georgia. And until Alabama shows me that DeBoer can string it together consistently, like I don't know. I
feel like he's done that since Florida. I mean, and with the young new quarterback, of course, the Florida State game, the whole team got manhandled. But since then, they have done some good. They went into Georgia and won, and then went into undefeated Missouri and won. I think those are big. I think those are respectable wins.
Yeah, they're definitely respectable. Again, I mean, Alabama as a whole seems to have Kirby Smart's number. Also, side note, is Kirby Smart one of the most unlikable coaches in all of college football right now? I really feel the clapping. Who claps like this, Rocky? Who claps like this?
Who claps like timeout?
Yeah, I don't get it. Look, I'm a little surprised that South Florida is up there like they are. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, Texas being back in the top 25, cool. I think it's deserved. Where we're sitting at 21, that feels fair. I'm not going to fuss about it. Again, we got to string together.
It doesn't matter.
Nothing matters. Everything's still in front of us. Just win, take it a game at a time, and go from there.
Yeah, we have Vanderbilt, A&M ahead of us, Georgia ahead of us that are in this in these rankings. So, all right, just a quick. Yeah, he lied that he was clapping.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I wasn't calling timeout.
Nobody claps like this, man.
No, nobody claps like that. Longhorn Frenzy, thanks for being here, man. He says Aggies are going to drop 2 or 3 games before they even get to Texas. We should, on Wednesday, Megan, let's take a second and look at their schedule too, and kind of like what we did with OU and Texas tonight. Really quickly, Indiana went into Oregon and shocked the nation. Nobody picked Indiana to win that game. They won by double digits. Florida gave A&M a fight early, but A&M pulled away. They're a good team. They did lose one of their running backs, their star running back in the process, but they won and they're still undefeated. Alabama-Missouri game was so good. I don't know if everybody watched that game, but go back and watch this game. It was a really good game. Missouri had a chance to come back at the end, at least get in field goal range and throw an interception. We had to watch Kansas because Finkley was on the field and to check out Texas Tech. Oh, my goodness, Texas Tech is a machine. They are a machine right now. Their quarterback did get hurt, and he's day-to-day because they go to Arizona State this week. But don't worry, they still ran for 372 yards against Kansas. That's crazy. Well, I'm going to close this already. Georgia, we thought this was going to be Georgia, Auburn, who cares? But Auburn was up 10-0, and it should have been 17-0, Megan.
That's what I say about this Georgia team, though, Rocky. Like, they're good. I'm not saying Georgia isn't good. I'm not saying they're not talented. And being in Athens is going to be tough for Texas. But Georgia is not they've gotten some lucky breaks. And they're just not looking like the dominating team, the dominating Georgia that we've seen in the past. So I think there's some opportunity there. And I'll tell you, that Auburn team is another one. That's another SEC team that I'm glad we don't have on our schedule this year because they've gotten some really crappy breaks. I think their record doesn't reflect. I think they're a better team than their record reflects. They've just gotten some shit hands dealt to them.
Yeah, that they should have gone up 17-10, but they ruled that the quarterback breaking the play, and they ruled that a fumble. Anyway, really quick, people are saying that Kansas head coach said a knife was thrown at them instead of tortillas. Miracle Martinez says the same thing, that they're throwing knives. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't put it past the people at Tech. They're, ugh. Arkansas gave Tennessee everything they can handle, but Tennessee survived. So we got to keep an eye on Taylor Green. He's a monster, and he is still very much has a team that can rise up against anyone else. Michigan exposed against USC. Just a young quarterback on the road.
I'm just saying it's not the OU win that OU wants to think.
No,
it is.
it's not. It's not, for sure. A young quarterback. But the biggest story of the weekend, and we'll just cover this and wrap up. The biggest story of the weekend, Northwestern 22 at Penn State 21. This was enough to get James Franklin fired. So he was the first coach, Megan, in 30 years to lose multiple games where he was 20-point favorite. 20-point favorite last weekend at UCLA, 0-4 UCLA, and they got manhandled. They fought back, but they were too little too late. And then at home, they lost to Northwestern. Should he have been fired, Megan?
I gotta say, to me, that's tough. That's tough to say. Look, that buyout, number one, is insane. $49 million. That's a crazy buyout. You're talking about a Penn State team. Like, Franklin did take his teams to the college football playoffs.
Just a few days ago, he was.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's where I struggle with this firing a little bit. Like, I get it, and I understand being pissed. We thought Penn State was a little overrated. It feels pretty knee-jerky to fire a guy that's had you in the national championship discussion for the past few years. Agreed. You got to beat teams that you're supposed to beat by 20 points. You got to do it. But to fire him 1 year off of being in the semifinals, that seems.
I think it's the bigger picture. The bigger picture is there's a thing now called Franklining, right? It used to be Clemsoning, right? Get to the big thing and fail. Get to the big thing. Then now it's you Franklin it, right? You get there, you get to the big game, and you fall apart. They couldn't beat Michigan. They couldn't beat Ohio State. The games that matter the most. They couldn't win the Big Ten championship. The things that matter. So I think it's a big, longer. Yes, it was just a few months ago when they were at the pinnacle, but I think they felt like at this point he's just not going to get us over this hump, and they were sweeping it under the rug, until it got to the point where it's not just that anymore. It is now you can't even beat the spread. That's Vegas stuff. That doesn't matter. But teams you should dominate, you can't even beat them at home. It's one thing to not dominate them. The spread's the spread. But you didn't beat Northwestern at home. You went to a winless team and got run out the stadium.
Those losses hurt, but again, to me, that's like firing Coach Sarkisian after the Florida loss.
Right.
I get it. I understand it.
He's been there a lot longer though. Like right. They were done, I think.
I can appreciate the arguments. I understand the arguments, but man, it's hard out here in them streets. Like that is just
$50 million.
Yeah, look. I've said this time and again, somebody can hire me to be the world's shittiest college football coach, and I will happily retire for half of that. You can fire me for half of that, and I will go quietly into the night. It would be great.
Franklin was interviewed. CB says Steve Patterson interviewed Franklin for the Texas job. You never know where someone actually fits, if he would have fit here or not.
I know if it was a Steve Patterson hire, he probably wouldn't have fit. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Steve Patterson didn't fit.
They say that Penn State is going to hire the Aggies coach.
No, I've heard that.
I've heard Matt Rule is the most I've heard is Indiana, right? Kurt Cignetti, and Matt Rule are like the names I've really heard the most. I haven't really heard Elko, but you said he does have ties, but I haven't heard his name.
I've heard Elko tossed around.
He's not like in the big Vegas odds or anything.
No, but he's from that area. He played at Pitt. Like he knows the area. He knows that it'd be kind of a homecoming in some ways. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Hey, Paolo. Good to see you. Thanks for checking in. All right. I think this firing him mid-season is kind of tough, especially for the young players. Sark was asked about that, and his first thing was the players. You got to think about the athletes, and they committed to play him, and now he's gone, and now there's confusion. But we know in the time of recruiting and NIL and transport and all those things, if they're going to make a move, they got to make it before the end of the season. Unfortunately, I don't know. I guess that's the way it goes. Anyway, Megan, we had a great time tonight. Texas. Let me take my glasses off. Can wear the golden hat again for another year. It's pretty
Stays
exciting.
in Austin. It's getting pretty comfortable here in Austin. I like it. I like this trend.
Mine does not weigh 900 pounds and made of steel. Mine is just a little plasticky hat. Anyway, all right, let's wrap it up, Megan. Anything else you want to say before we sign out?
No, I think everything's still ahead of Texas. Goals are still there. We'll do the breakdown as we on Wednesday, our live breakdown. Looking forward to Kentucky. We'll talk about that more. How does Texas match up? What does it look like? What are we expecting? I would love some recommendations for where to go in Kentucky. Should I do the Bourbon Trail? What should I do? But we'll talk about that all Wednesday. Again, until then, please be sure to like and subscribe. We are at the Fire the Cannon and the #1 on Twitter and on Instagram. And of course on YouTube, we are Fire the Cannon Podcasts. We appreciate y'all. Please smash like, smash subscribe on YouTube. Tell us what you think. We always love it when we hear from y'all. Listen, it's always a good day to be a Longhorn.
Yep, it's a good day to be a Longhorn, I tell you what.
It sure is.
But it is extra special when we walk away wearing that golden hat. So until Wednesday, y'all, we'll see you there. I'm Megan.
I'm Rocky.
And we are Fire the Cannon. Hook 'em.